We were on a journey to discover people who embodied the way of Jesus, and not just generically, but who lived according to his way of power in the world. And our surprise, that led us to a small place in Montana, in a small little airport by the side of a lake.
For a couple years, we had exchanged letters back and forth with Eugene Peterson, sharing our own stories and struggles and questions regarding power and ministry. And he had extended an invitation to us graciously to come spend time with him in his home by a lake just outside a small town in Montana. As we knocked on the door, we were greeted with warmth by he and his wife Jan, welcomed into their home, received as if he were our pastor. As we sat with Eugene all day that day, what continued to come up for me as I reflected on my own years in pastoral ministry was how different his rhythm and his pace was. So unhurried, so relational and personal, present and attentive, willing to engage in conversation, listening and open. And what also struck me was discovering that all these temptations I had faced with wanting significance and power and notoriety in ministry, seeking to use the church to kind of get my own platform, were things that Eugene himself had wrestled with over his many years in ministry. And what was so encouraging was to hear him not only narrate honestly his struggles in these things, but also provide us a bit of a vision forward of what it meant to actually embrace a different way of power, to embrace a different kind of leadership in ministry, one that was relentlessly personal, persistent in shepherding, willing to receive others in grace and love, but often in hiddenness, just as he had done with us that day in his home in Montana.
At the end of the day, we went out on his back porch, looking over the lake behind him, and he told us stories of his grandkids swimming in the lake and how he'd tell them story of trolls, and sometimes they kind of got a little too scared to be in the lake. And he pointed out a huge mansion right down the lake, and he said, "Did you notice the abomination of desolation?" And he kind of grinned at us as he said it, and we looked, and it was very interesting because here's Eugene, who was a hometown boy in his cabin by the lake. And he pointed out that people had come from outside of town to build this monstrosity in an area they did not live, an area they were foreign to. And it reminded us of his own ministry, that he was always the hometown pastor. And even now, towards the end of his life, towards the end of his ministry certainly, he was a hometown, kind of stay-at-home kind of pastor, where folks like us would now fly out to meet with him. And weekly, people are flying to sit with him. That this is a man who so embodies the way of power that people seek him out because it is so different from a world and even a church that embodies a different way.